Good morning. Welcome back to Manor Road Studio. This is the Free and Live podcast. We are your sage gurus for the morning. I'm Dale.
I'm Chris.
And you saw earlier the topic of the day was going to be prognosis. But before we get into that, let's just take a few seconds to just kind of slow our minds down, turn off the busyness and the noise that maybe's just creeped into you during this week. Just kind of let go of everything that's troubling you. Let's just give thanks to the sun for turning the lights on today and giving us life. Let's be thankful to the earth for giving us the oxygen that we inhale. And just be thankful for the ability to be alive today, fully alive. So with that being said, welcome everyone. I know we've got a lot of new people from Canada. I've got a lot of new people from the Florida area and a few new people from the Ireland area. So we really have become global over the last 6 weeks. So anyway, prognosis. Chris and I talked about this last night, and I'm not even sure what brought it up. But the word prognosis, simply if you look it up, is prediction of an outcome. But for most of us, we would say that prognosis it relates to a terminal disease or something. Go ahead.
A lot of times, prognosis, people want to know if they're going to get better and how long they're going to get better.
Yeah.
And that's from working in a healthcare standpoint. But like you just said, prognosis is just
Prediction of an outcome.
prediction of an outcome. And, and we got to talking, and I think we were talking about some friends of ours on one of the prostate cancer forums. Because so many people, when they get their diagnosis, the first thing they want to know is, if it's a severe diagnosis, is, well, how long do I have? The thing is that every single one of us has the exact same prognosis. You and I both have the same prognosis. You have a stage 4 Gleason 9 prostate cancer with mets to different parts of the body. Even though I have an autoimmune disease, compared to you, I'm fairly healthy. Have a little high cholesterol, have autoimmune disease, but not, anything that you would consider like, or what in our minds we think of as a terminal condition.
Right.
But the thing is every one of us that's on this earth has a terminal condition, and that's called life.
So
Because
so everybody has the same prognosis?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Our bodies are going to die. And I'm not going to turn this into anything about morbidity or anything about reincarnation or anything. I'm not even going to go there. But what we're looking at is every one of us is going to die. And just because you have a very terminal disease of cancer doesn't mean that, with me being relatively healthy, that I wouldn't die before you did.
Sure.
Because we don't know. We have no idea how much time we have left. A doctor can tell you if you have a disease or cancer or something like that, well, they figure, according to other patients I've had, that, you've probably got X
amount of time.
But there's nobody that has, none of us have any kind of guarantee.
So if we change the narrative, when we think of prognosis, how about if we change that? If the word prognosis means prediction of an outcome, why don't we give ourselves a prognosis of a better life?
We really should, because we think about so much of our time we spend either in the past because of choices we've made before, or we're spending time because of choices we've made before, things that have happened to us. We spend time worrying about the future, and usually that may be because we've made choices to get a big house with a big mortgage and big car payments and all those kind of things, and it just puts us to where we're slaves. And we have to worry about having enough money and enough resources to take care of those things.
Right.
When, in all honesty, each and every one of us, the only thing we have is today.
So I'm asking you too. A lot of times when we talk about health, it's related to obesity. A lot of people get diabetes and heart failure and so forth from obesity. So how can we learn to live lighter? And I'm not talking about lighter as far as how much we weigh. We could probably all stand to shed 5 pounds. But you brought up something, Chris, that just kind of resonated for a few seconds is slaves. I mean, when we're slaves to monthly payment storage units, and please don't misunderstand me. I mean, we all know that if you're like us, we have to have a car payment, we have to have a house payment. We're certainly not privileged by any stretch of the imagination. But when you get into excess, I guess is what I'm talking about. And Chris, I'm gonna give you a word on this. Is we can't. There's no way to increase our prognosis of a better life if we keep filling this void with materialism.
Right.
Does that make sense? I mean,
that does make sense. I think, and I know for me, if we choose to go bigger and better, like the world, I mean, media in our Western culture, it tells us that we need bigger, better, prettier, more. We need to take this. We need to do this. We've got to be sexy and we've got to have a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's what our media tells us. And if we follow that, then we take away our choices.
I hope you caught that. So you're right. Go ahead.
Then when we decide, oh, well, I don't want to work the 60, 70 hour a week stressful job, or I don't want to not be able to see my kids' ball games or whatever, we don't have options because or if we decide, oh, well, I just want to paint for a while. We can't do that because we owe so much money that we don't have options. And when we figure out, oh, well, I just want to work in a florist doing flower arrangements, I can't do that because I have to make
X amount of money
to
cover that which I'm a slave to.
Yes.
When we think about, of course, the name of the podcast is Free and Alive. And obviously, the acronym for ALIVE: Authentic Love, Imagination, Victor, and Evolve. And every time me and Chris talk, something sticks in my head, and just the term slave is sticking in my head right now. Because it's so easy to become slaves to our environment, slaves to our materialism. And we lose sight of who we possibly could be. And I'm even going to say we're slaves to our inauthenticity. Because up until you guys didn't know me prior to 6 weeks ago, but most people, I'm 59, but most people that knew me prior to July of 2018 wouldn't know me necessarily today. Sure, I hang around a lot of the same people, but I guess what I mean by that is really with this page and my terminal prognosis, which for me became a prognosis to live, I have learned that I can be authentic to my true self. And it doesn't even take changing a lot to be authentic, because my authentic self is very much a humanitarian. It's nothing I need to be ashamed of. But I just didn't give myself permission to be that because I spent 19 years teaching Catholicism. Chris spent multiple years, working in her church through daycare and women's groups and so forth and so on. So, and we're not saying any of that's bad, but it truly did block me from my authenticity. So when we talk in terms of prognosis, let's have a prognosis for living alive. And I'm going to ask Chris another question here. See, we got her so we can ask questions. I guess in short, you do another group for women. What do you feel like is one of the biggest obstacles to living authentic?
I think it's really what the world tells us that we're supposed to be.
Okay.
Women especially are supposed to, and not, women are supposed to take care of everything.
Yeah.
They're just kind of expected. And I'm not saying that there's not men that do.
That's our dog scratching at the door, by the way.
And I don't mean that there's not men that clean and cook and all that kind of stuff. But women are typically take care of the kids, make sure all of their stuff has gone, plus
generationally their role is established.
Yes, and still you have to get, you're running. You don't have any peace because you got ball games the kids have got to get to. You got to take care of school stuff. You got to take care of the house stuff. You have your own job that you're working, and it's just sometimes unbearable because you forget to fill your own cup so that it can pour out to somebody else. And I think we martyr ourselves as women a lot of times with, well, I have to do this. Mm-hmm. When really we don't. We could speak up and say, hey, this isn't working for me. Oh, heck no, I ain't doing that, But we're really bad about martyring ourselves to do everything. And we feel, and then the voices in our head start telling us, well, you can't get all this done, so you're just not enough. And the thing is, we weren't meant to be that much. No one was meant to be that much.
Right.
But authenticity is not about what you see is what you get. That's not what authenticity is about at all. Authenticity is about being authentic to yourself. Mm-hmm. And knowing what you like, and knowing what is good for you, and figuring out what's the next right thing for me to do. Today it may be taking the kids to the park or a ball game, or right now it may be getting the kids up and feeding them. If I had kids, I have dogs, but I have grown kids. We both have grown children, but sometimes it's just to live alive is just to do the next right thing for yourself. And folks, it's okay to say no.
No's a damn good answer.
No's a complete sentence too.
Yeah, it sure is.
You do not owe anyone any explanation for saying no.
It's kind
you
of
don't have to justify it.
Yeah, and a lot of the talks I do that Chris isn't with me on, of course you guys have heard this, I state all the time that prior to even just a year or two ago, I felt like when somebody asked me a question about a current event that I had to give a position on that. The truth is you don't have to give a position on that. Matter of fact, it's pretty powerful to go, I don't know enough to make an opinion about that, or I simply don't want to take a position on that. Because it takes the power and the divisiveness out of the conversation. Now, I got another question for those of you that don't follow, or women especially, that don't follow Chris's page. I've followed Chris's journey for the last 5 years, and I've seen the peaks and valleys of her trying to find her authentic self. And she finally found it really recently, as did I. But Chris's finding her authentic self was expressed through art. And she teaches an art class, and just give me a minute here. She teaches an art class, and this isn't an advertisement. It's just kind of an awareness or an observation. And Chris paints just stunning, beautiful abstracts, and then she paints over them. And I'm like, what are you doing here? But there's personality, and there's emotion, and there's feeling, and all of this. So I've seen what things like art can do to help you find an emotion or express an emotion that maybe had been locked in for years and years and years. So kind of give us maybe a terse overview of what you found through art.
Well, through art, I use it as a meditation. I may start with something even as simple as an affirmation or something that, take for instance, when I got ready to start a book club, and the book club does have painting prompts to where we meditate. You're painting and you're not focusing on your end result. It's just painting as a meditation, is to flow, and your mind is studying on a certain thing, what you're meditating on. But I would put an affirmation on the canvas and then just paint over it while in my mind I'm just resonating on that. I've done that with statements, with words.
Immersion.
Freedom, immersion, and you as you meditate, you paint. And I did 2 immersion paintings this last week. One was water, and had a person, like when you're young and you jump in the pool and you're floating down to the bottom, till you hit the very bottom of the pool. And one was a painting of that. And then the next one, when I'm thinking about immersion, is I thought about a pig in a mud hole, because that's one of the happiest. Pigs don't sweat, so in the summer when it's really hot, they love for it to rain because they can wallow in the mud, and they're just as happy as they can be. And there's nothing really happier typically than a pig anyway. They're very intelligent, smart animals.
I wouldn't have guessed that one.
Oh, they're very intelligent and smart, usually smarter than dogs. But they love it. You bust a watermelon, and throw it in the pig pen, and that's like a party, to have fresh fruits and vegetables and then to wallow in the mud. So that was my other immersion painting, was a pig wallowing in the mud.
We're going to show you one of those paintings here in just a minute. I'm going to make her give it to you. Let me ask you something else, Chris. And I'm putting Chris on the spot, but the truth is I'm putting you on the spot. Simply because the way that I have the good fortune of interviewing Chris, but by the same token, the answers she gives are probably things you're facing. Is it fair to say that over the last few years, if you sought authenticity, that a lot of it's come through materialism?
Yes, absolutely.
Did any of that give you the peace and authenticity you were looking for?
No.
Okay, pay attention to that. Because these beautiful paintings she's doing cost very little. I mean, it's not like she's out going, if I only buy this 70-inch TV, I'll be happy. If I only buy this new couch, I'll be happy. If I buy a better looking refrigerator, I'll be happy. None of those things fill this.
No. The only thing that is going to fill that is authenticity to yourself.
And she found it through art.
Loving yourself. When you start treating yourself like you would somebody that you're trying to, what was that old word that they used to say when they're like you're trying to date somebody and you're doing that best impression and you're being all
I know what
sweet
you're talking about, yeah. That's not who you are, yeah.
It's when you're trying to court somebody. That's what I was like.
Yeah.
You need to be trying to court yourself.
Yeah.
And one of the strangest things that I ever did was looking in the mirror and going, you are amazing. I absolutely love you. And speaking things about myself to myself. And it was so weird the first few times I did it. And then it became a natural thing over time. But that's what started pushing all of that crud out of my head that I would tell myself, because we're the first people that will criticize ourselves when something doesn't go exactly right, when the painting doesn't look exactly right. Well, you're no good at this.
And tag on that, we'll also believe other people's criticisms of us.
Yes, if an art teacher or somebody tells you, well, that I just don't like that, or whatever, or somebody on social media that's a troll that you don't even know will say something negative about your art, and you believe them.
Don't believe other people's opinion of you.
don't believe your own opinion of you.
Yeah, don't believe everything you think.
Because sometimes, because a lot of times you'll tell yourself some horrible things that are totally untrue. There is not a person on this earth that is not worthy of love.
Absolutely.
And positive. But what we do, and I talk a lot on my page about manifesting positive things.
That's what I just wrote down.
And we can do that, but the thing is we can also manifest bad.
Yeah.
Just as easy, because what you put out into the world is what comes back. We don't run across a lot of, you'll occasionally hit somebody that's grumpy or mean or whatever, but
not much.
But typically, like if I am out working and I come across a patient that's really angry or whatever, usually by the time I leave, they're fine.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to treat them with kindness and not love on them, but, just be kind and appreciative of them for letting me work with them and things. And they're usually very
by the time
I leave,
leaving,
they'll be going thank you and stuff. They may not be my best friend, but they're pleasant.
They're pleasant.
To me,
you left them better than you found them.
Yes.
I wrote down the word manifestation while you were talking, and let's even get back to the topic of prognosis for just a second. We truly can manifest good or bad in our lives. And going back to the terminal cancer, you're standing in front of your doctor, and then you say, "Doc, how long have I got?" And Doc says, "Well, you got 6 weeks." Your body and your mind can manifest that if you allow it to.
Yes.
But Chris, you said something before this podcast started. Is what if our real prognosis, and we really knew it, was we're going to die this time next Sunday? Now what? We're going to die this time next Sunday.
Well, people either do one of two things. They either
crawl in a hole.
No, they either shut down, go to bed because, I'm dying, or the bucket list comes out and they do every single thing.
Ching, ching, ching.
And they live.
They live.
Live. And that's what we want you to do, guys. We want you to do the next right thing for you, but we want you to be authentic about it. We want you to love yourself. We want you to dream and imagine, we want you to be a victor. And so that you evolve into this person that's totally living alive. And we strive to do this since 2018. We have been striving to live alive to the best of our abilities. And not worrying about what happens coming up in the future, because number one, it ain't here yet. Number two, we're worrying about something that we have no clue about. Typically, what we worry about is something we've either had a past experience or somebody has told us that, well, you better be careful, you might do this. Why waste all that energy and stress when you can live today? And
I think that the more we are learning to live alive, the more we realize how little money it takes to live authentically alive. Now, I can say this, between Chris and I, we've probably been all over the world. And I love seeing the sights of the world. I love visiting different cultures, different heritage, different nationalities. By the same token, those are beautiful things to do, but at the end of the day, that doesn't make me authentic to me. So the challenge of Free and Alive from the very day we started and the day Chris started her page is just to really help you give yourself permission to live alive. And for me, I just want to, I know that I can't change a single human being, but if I can help you think and open your mind up, then you can change yourself. It's kind of like I said yesterday. Thank goodness in grade school I had to memorize, Dr. King's "I Have a Dream" speech, and what it say? I have a dream that one day my children will be judged not by the color of the skin, but by the content of their character. That's quite a powerful statement. And just think, if we could shed all the prejudices, all the biases, all the dogmas, doctrines, and everything we've been told to believe, I can't help but to think that authenticity and that ability to love ourselves will rise up to the top. And our imagination that Chris just talked about can open you up to new dimensions that you didn't know existed. But things have to change. I mean, something right here and right here has to change for authenticity to elevate. Is that fair?
That is true. You kind of, well, there's no kind of about it. You have to begin by accepting yourself where you're at.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe you're not in a great place, maybe emotionally, physically. You know, I don't know where you're at. I just know where I'm at. But we have to kind of say, okay, here we are. You know, let's stop digging the hole and let's look up, you know.
What's the first thing you said the other day when you're in a hole? The first thing you do?
Stop digging.
Stop digging.
Stop digging. And then you can, and because Dale always talks about the first thing you got to do is look up. Stop looking down. You know, that's it. You have to look up and go, okay, what can I do right this minute? And that may be just going and taking a shower and getting dressed.
Yeah.
It may be that simple. We make things so stinking complicated.
Oh, man, we sure do.
We make it so complicated when maybe the next thing I need to do is go let the dog in.
Go let the dog. Oh yeah, and get your immersion picture. Brad, we're gonna take a look at this, and I got two things I want to read to you. This has been a great podcast. We're 26 minutes into it. I love that.
I'll let immersion sit right there.
This is Chris's immersion painting. Now, what you can't see is everything that she's painted over to get to this point. And when she started painting immersion, this is strictly her emotion coming out. She didn't have a picture she was trying to paint out of. This just came out of her head, as did her pig that I can see right there, and many of her other paintings. But I have witnessed firsthand, watching her art classes, what this has done to empower women to open their lives up. And again, this isn't an advertisement for Chris's.
No, but if you guys want to,
I'm going to share it to them on here.
Yeah, share it. And
Hello,
the
Racky.
book club is open now. For my private group is women only, but any men are welcome to be on our main page. And I don't have a problem with men being in our book club either. But like I said, my Living Alive is a group for women.
Awesome.
So
I want to give you, I said this the other day, and I'll wrap this up. One of my favorite songs is by Mercy Me. It's called Say I Won't. I just want to recite this verse to you. I recite because I can't sing. But it says, today it all began, seeing my life for the very first time through a different lens. Yesterday, I didn't understand. Driving 35 with a rocket inside, I didn't know what I had. I'm going to run. No, I'm going to fly. I'm going to know what it means to live, not just be alive. This world's going to hear because I'm going to shout, and I will be dancing when circumstances drown the music out. Thank you so much for listening to the Gathering of the Free and Alive today. Thank you so much for Chris for giving us the opportunity to listen to her amazing wisdom. I will share her page on here. To all the people that have joined us this week, you have no idea how much I appreciate that. And if I could ask one favor of all of you, that's to invite more people to this page. The more we can invite to our ever-growing table, the more we can understand each other, the quicker we can advance peace and humanity and mankind in a better direction. So I want to hear from you. I always enjoy your comments and questions. And I try to do a podcast daily, but this is the weekly Gathering of the Free and Alive. So I hope you have an amazing rest of the day, and I'll share Chris's page here in just a minute and see you next week.